Okay, my name is Kerstin Laidmae. I know it's difficult for you to write it down and pronounce, but it's not important. And I have been working in the Ministry of Finance of Estonia for 2 years, since 2015 October until this year August. And now, then I switched to the ICT Center of the Ministry of Finance. So it's the same field, the same area, and I have been quality management in both places. And self-assessment has been among my duties, both in the Ministry of Finance and here in the ICT Center. And for me, this self-assessment or CAF assessment of the Ministry of Finance was actually the third time of leading the whole project, as the first two self-assessments were exactly this ICT centers and another agency of ours which is named State Shared Services Center, which is also governed by the Ministry of Finance area, and I was their quality manager also. So I have 3 experiences. They have all been a bit different, of course. And but maybe the one that most interests you is the Ministry of Finance's self-assessment, as the ministry is the biggest organization. It has around 370 workers, people working there today. It was a challenge, therefore, because I had to compile this group of people so that all kind of all departments were represented, and that there were both men and women, that there were older people, younger people, more experienced people. Why the Ministry of Finance actually started it in 15 years ago. I must say that it was 15 years ago when they first started it. It was in 2002. So it's quite difficult to predict because it has been such a long time. But I can just suppose that at those time, well, most of our public organizations were not so well aware of the organizational development issues or quality management issues, and it must have been that as EPA offered it, the model, CAF model, as free. Of course, we know it's a free model and it's a great opportunity. And so it happened that at that time there was leadership who were interested in dealing with such issues. Really, it was that the first time it just happened that CAF seemed out to be the right model to assess anything at all, to give a framework. And then afterwards it was a matter of those leaders, or those people who were very consistent in doing it again and again. As it happened so that in Ministry of Finance there were 5 time CAF assessments before me, and I did it, it was the 6th time already. And why has it been such, I would say, still necessary thing to do? It's because in such big organizations as ministries and public organizations overall, it's actually very difficult to get anything very solid to bring your improvement plans or actions, or get the how to say, like other glimpse towards you. It's quite difficult. And then, as it happened to be that this CAF model is quite a simple one also. It's quite simple to explain it to people, how to use it. And those people who really want to contribute to your organization. So it was a good thing in 2 ways. First, to get some kind of feedback, how we have been through years, have we improved, and this getting points higher is quite exciting also for the leaders. And the other good thing about the CAF model is that you can get people contribute for the organization and you can get them to be their change agents afterwards, as they have attached themselves to those propositions they have made. They have put their heart into those propositions, and they are the most likely agents who are ready to carry those improvements out afterwards. And this also refers to the other question, which is really important, that you have asked how did we compile those assessment teams. And it's a very important thing, that you can get those teams so that they represent the whole organizations. To get people from different departments or areas, also from different managerial positions. There should be some managers, some middle-level managers, some simple workers. There should be everyone. Women and men, well, men usually tend to less offer themselves for such things. Well, then you need to convince them that you are the best, you're the really best one. It's you who is missing from this team, and well, then they get this impression that, of course, they want to contribute. And so I managed to get 22 persons to assess, divided into 2 groups. Yes. I knew it that I had to make 2 groups to make it representative, because we have such a large organization. And then, of course, I first managed to get them 27 of them, because I knew that the life happens and they will switch off afterwards. And then we got 22 in the end who really were ready to give their points and explanations. First we did a short training. It was a half-day training for them, where I explained all those criterions thoroughly. What do they actually assess? And we made several practical works in smaller groups. So it was quite helpful, I think. For those people who have never been acquainted to the CAF model, this kind of practical work during the training was very useful, and I got the feedback that it was really good that we did it, because afterwards, just if you leave them alone, go home and assess there, well, they will be very frustrated. But we did this short training. Then I gave them a pre-written report on our strengths and weaknesses. It was about 50 pages long. And then they went home and got some 2 weeks time to assess, to get their points. And then we had arranged this calibration meeting, and we made it in 2 groups in 2 different rooms, but we were all together and outside the ministry, dinner and so on, because it took us the whole working day, this calibration meeting. And there they could argue with each other and give different views, because they were from different departments and so on. And then I got those points that were final. And afterwards I measured those 2 groups points together, and then there's this medium level points, and lots of improvement actions, of course. On the same day, everything happened the same day, and it was very important when you think about this process, that this one person who sits there writes as much down as possible, because there they have their ideas, there they are creative and they want to contribute. Afterwards they'll forget it, so just get as much as you can from the one day, write down as much as you can. Well, I was very tired this day, but it was worth it. And afterwards, you can take your time afterwards and unify what those improvements were actually, and so on. And then afterwards I took this huge table of improvement actions, what the groups had offered, and then I took it to our leadership. which consists of 6 people. And it was very crucial. I think it is very crucial that the leadership sort of attaches itself with those actions that have to be carried out. And so it happened that that the leadership actually, the leaders have to decide, but the CEO or something has to decide which actions we have to carry through and which we are not carrying through. It's normal, isn't it? Yes. And so altogether it took some 4 months, the whole process. Yeah, for 4 months the whole process from my report, writing the report, finding all those information, getting the team together, the training, their independent work, the calibration meeting, and then in the end sitting with the leaders and writing it together. So yes, it was very intensive period for me, very intensive, and it also takes lots of energy from the people who contribute their they have their own work as well, and if they are ready, yes, then they. This is an important thing, that when you start to convene people that please contribute to the organization, then you should be honest and say that it takes time. Not to diminish those hours of work, because they can be disappointed, and that's not a good idea. But actually, I think that when you turn personally towards everyone, people want to be the smart ones who offer their ideas for the organization. The report, it's sort of, I should say, information gathered together. I did it, but I also asked many people, at least, for instance, our financial manager, our personnel manager, then all the other department managers. I asked them for the input to that report, and it also takes some time. So I sort of put it all together, but I didn't think out all those information, of course. Yes. I asked them to look over whether this information is adequate that I gathered, and then they looked up. Some were very eager to write all those good examples what they have been doing, and well, so I sort of copied and pasted together. Okay. But I also got there, as you know, the model asks all the time, give examples, give examples, give examples. So I had to gather examples, and I got the examples of the researches that have been carried through the years, and then I also sometimes I picked up those figures from some researches. I brought a figure and put it into the report, so those people who are reading the report could read those things momentarily.
Numbers.
The numbers, yes. You can actually do without the report, but then it leaves a huge work for the people who are the free assessors. It will be more difficult for them. Okay. This is why these 5 years experiences before that had taught us that it is a very time-consuming process for the people who contribute, and if they are hesitating, then you should do as much as you can to get them to leave with a good feeling out of this process. Because if you want the next time to happen, then it would be better that people who contributed leave with a good feeling, isn't it so? Not that they were sort of strapped into some kind of major project and it was so hard and so difficult. We didn't want that to happen. CAF is supposed to be carried out either in 2 years or in 3 years, isn't it so? Now I just suppose that the Minister of Finance has decided that they will be 2 years without the assessing, and the next time will be then in 2019. So it's a bit time left there, and we'll see what they will decide. How many people will do it next time. Well, first I started actually the communication with going to the leadership meeting. We have this regular meetings. The permanent secretary and the undersecretaries meet every Tuesday. Of course, I went there and I got the approval first. And this is a strong suggestion that without the leadership approval, we'll think twice before doing it. And then I explained what it means, and of course it was not a new thing to our leaders, but then again, and then I managed to get the approval. Then I started to turn to those people who I wanted to be the assessors. Some declined, though always there are decliners. Some I could afterwards substitute some other people because there happened to be someone who sort of decided in the mean way that he or she did not want to do it after all. Their managers, whom I wanted to be the assessors, they were very actually eager or agreed. They did not have any objections, because it was sort of course, if he or she thinks that he has time, why not? So it was a positive experience for me, that the middle-level managers were quite along, and they did not object. Then after we had done this, the project was almost finished, then I went to an information seminar, or how do you call it? It's once a month, where all the middle-level managers and top managers meet and then talk about several projects. There I made a short presentation. I mean, what were the outcomes, the points. The points always are very exciting for people, and I showed the trends, because I could show the trends, between what has been raising, and then I brought up also the major improvements and major lessons learned, and I think they were interested to hear about it. So I started from the leadership and I finished there. It was a communication process, and afterwards some improvement actions which needed to be reversed into tasks to some units. Then we just have this information system in the ministry, and we sort of tapped it there, and people got their tasks that they should do. So the communication was, I don't know, it's sort of a natural thing. We did not have a major communication plan. We have been changing the process throughout the times, because as you wonder that whether I did the report or I gathered all the information together myself, and I sort of did something for the assessors. It is one lessons learned among those, because in the former years the people who were in the assessment team had to do more work. They were tasked to find out information themselves and to communicate with each other before the assessment. But then we discovered that people got tired throughout the process, and they were voluntary before, and during the process they got tired of finding all this kind of information, and then it's quite easy for them to say that, well, I cannot do it anymore. This has been among those lessons learned, that make it as easier, simple for the people contributing, because they did it voluntarily. They offer it with free will, and we who are the initiators or who are interested in organizational development, well, that's our job, but it's not necessarily their job. So I think it is a very important thing to realize that they do not do it as their major task or aim, and realizing it, just do it as simple, either using technological instruments, using maybe some kind of pre-formulas that are fulfilled before them, then do it. Everything that makes it more easier for people. But good lesson learned, on the other hand, has been that when we have been doing sort of thank you event for the contributors, either a dinner or some kind of going out somewhere, doing something, then we did it this time also, and it was very well welcomed. We thought that maybe they don't want to come out after work or at 6 o'clock in the evening, but they did. Everyone wanted to come out and get a big thank you speech, and we made some chocolate truffles this time all together. We went to a plate, we made some chocolate truffles, we had fun also, and afterwards we could eat it all up. And this is important. This is part of the process. Ideally, of course, it should not be a once-time stop. That's true, because how can you? Well, the CAF model is designed so that you must show the trends. How can you show the trends if you don't make it happen several times? In the Ministry of Finance, we had it written the duty or the necessity to carry out self-assessment. It was written in a document which may be titled as a process, because it was sort of quality management depiction, or the depiction of quality management issues in Ministry of Finance. It was the title, and there were principles of quality management in Ministry of Finance, major processes that the quality manager is responsible for, and the major steps, what need to be done when this self-assessment process starts and ends. So yes, they were like duties in this paper, and they were depicted, and they are until this day, I think. But the whole process from start till end, whether to describe it as a process, I think it's up to the organization to decide, because some kind of organizations perhaps that have all processes written down or mapped, then it's a good practice to do it also. But in some organizations, people tend to be very, cautious about this written document again. And then again, where is the fun then assessing when you get some kind of paper? The points have been rising. They have been rising, but they more have been rising in the first years, of course. After the first assessment, and then they raised quite a lot, and then after 3 or 4 times, then it happened that they sort of stuck. And it's a normal thing, of course, because if you follow the model, it's very rough. That you have to prove every point, isn't it? So you cannot put higher points even if you want. There might have been lots of actions, but if the results have not improved, then it's pointless to raise those. That you have been acting very well, doing several things, lots and lots of things, but if you don't have influence, then maybe they were pointless actions. And that's why it's necessary to be prepared that after some first assessment processes, the points will stack to some kind of level. Or slightly more, and they can also come down. And they can come down after some major changes in an organization. Maybe the change of leadership, maybe structural reforms. Structural reforms very much influence. It's kind of assessing the personal satisfaction thing, as also the results of our last assessment in 2016 revealed, which took place after a structural reform, that people were not satisfied with those changes. It's a very good chance for the leaders, so do not be afraid of using it, because nothing bad can happen only good things can happen when using it.